Do you feel lost? How about confused? How about you got a job, you ended up hating it, and you have no idea what the hell you want to do with your life? Well, if you're feeling like that, join the other millions of 20-year-olds who are also struggling with that exact thing. And today we're going to talk about all the ways that we can find direction in our 20s and how we can stop feeling like shit, start doing the things we want to do, and achieve the outcomes we want to achieve. So there's four main principles that I learned in the last 6 years. I'm now 25 years old, started this when I was about 19, that I've learned that have helped me go from being completely confused, lost, to understanding better how I'm going to spend my 20s, what the real goal of your 20s is, and how to get the most out of it. To apply those lessons, we first need to understand what happened. So we go from school, which is an extremely controlled environment. Everything is handed to you. You get your homework, you get assigned tests, you get assigned grades, you get assigned material. You graduate, you go to the next class that you're assigned, and then eventually you get a piece of paper, and then all is fine and dandy. Everything is controlled. There's not that many variables that are dictating what's going on when you're in school. Then you graduate, and everything is uncontrolled. Nothing is given to you. There's no one size fits all for anything. In school, you just have to pass your class, and you go on to the next thing. In the regular world, the working world, getting promoted isn't a straight line. Getting the job you want isn't a straight line. Finding the things you want, making the money you want, none of that is clear cut at all. And it takes a lot of figuring out to get there. And these are some of the principles that come into conflict that create all this uncertainty when you're in your 20s, which on top of it is just difficult because you're dealing with a lot of things for the first time. When you're surrounded by people who seem to have it all figured out because you're mixed in with people who are 20 and 30 years older than you for the first time. When you're in school, everyone's around the same age. Then you get in the working world and your boss is 55 and he's 30 years ahead of you and you're not even understanding how you're supposed to get where they are. The first principle is taking control of our lives. So regardless of how we feel, we are 100% in control of where we are and what's happening to us. We are 100% in control of where we are in our lives. We are responsible for what we do, for how we behave, and how we act. Things that are going to happen that are outside our control, but we are fully in control of how we react and what we do. That is the most freeing thing I've ever learned in my life, because I used to be someone who deferred things. I used to say, oh, this happened because of this. It wasn't really me, or this person did that, and this situation happened, and that's why I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And that's natural to think. But the second we realize that we are in control, it gives us the freedom to do what needs to be done. It gives us the freedom and the permission internally to say, okay, if you want to make more money, go make more money. If you want to be healthier, figure out a way to be healthier. If you want to be happier, figure out ways to be happier. Because the second you take responsibility for it yourself, you realize that you are in control for getting where you want to be. And for me, I've seen it happen multiple times in my life where I hated my job and I wanted to get a new one, or I wasn't making enough money and I wanted to make more money. And at the beginning, I caught myself saying, oh, my job doesn't pay me enough, or how am I supposed to get a new job in this economy? And it's like, yes, all of those things are true, but are you going to just accept that for what it is and just not even try? Or are you going to say, all right, I can do this, or I have to do this if I want to get there, and accept the responsibility, take the actions that need to be taken, and get yourself into the outcomes that you want to see. And I know it will be very difficult. It's extremely difficult to fight that voice in your head that says it's someone else's fault or it's something else's fault. But just fight it and accept that you can do it. But the more you do it, the more we accept responsibility for everything that happens and then just take the necessary actions in the right direction, the easier it becomes over time. The second perspective shift that really helped me was understanding that your 20s are for experimenting. No one has it figured out. Point in case, first of all. I have a podcast where I interviewed a ton of extremely successful people ranging from 30s to 60s, and I promise you, no one has it figured out. Everyone looks like they have it figured out, especially in social media, but no one does. And again, that's also liberating because you realize that right now in your 20s, you have the least amount of responsibilities you are ever going to have. Of course, there are people who do have more responsibilities than others in their 20s, but for the most part, you will have the least amount of problems today than you will ever have in your life. The least amount of bills, the least amount of people depending on you, the least amount of responsibilities, which means you are most open to risks. You are most open to doing things that you would not otherwise be doing if you had people depending on you, or if you had to worry more about money, or if you had to worry more about other things. Right now is the best time. Experiment often. It is the only way you're going to get an understanding of what you like and what you don't like. If you're in your 20s and you're trying to figure out, maybe you got a job and you're saying to yourself, well, shit, like I don't like this job, or this is not fulfilling, or I need to make way more money. I can't just do what I love every day. The only way you're going to get closer to those things is if you try a ton of stuff, figure out what you hate, figure out what's not working, figure out what you're good at, and then double down on that. And it will get you closer. Every single failure, every single misstep, every single trial and error that you go through will get you closer to where you want to be. I quit 3 jobs in the first 2 years of graduating college. Everyone thought I was insane for doing that. They're like, what are you doing? Every time I talk to you, you have a new job. I don't understand. Like, you went from being in a law firm to doing financial research to doing SEO. And guess what? Every single one of those jobs taught me more about myself. I still got the next job. Everyone was like, you're not going to be able to get a job. You only have 3 months of experience at that company. Okay. And I'm still going to try. And it worked out. And so I'm here to tell you that, one, if you're thinking about something unconventional, do it, because even if it doesn't work, it's worth it. It's worth the story. It's worth the try. We're only here once, right? But the other side of it is that I couldn't have known what I wanted to do. I'm building products now. I help build software, and I absolutely love it. And it's something that I enjoyed even as a kid, but it took me all that trial and error to get here. And I would do it 1,000 times over. I would try 10 more things if it meant I was going to wind up where I am today. I know deep down in my heart that I made the right decisions because I tried a bunch of things that I didn't like. And that revealed to me what I did like. And I'm confident in my decisions and where I am because I tried things that didn't work. You aren't able to have that confidence until you've done the things that you don't like and started to do things you do like, and you understand what you're good at, what you're not, and where you should be focusing your time and energy. And right now during your 20s is the best time to do it. So I highly recommend that you get out there, experiment, and try new things. The third principle that I've applied is just general self-awareness. You'd be surprised how many people aren't self-aware. Go outside in public sometimes and you're wondering, the hell is that person doing? But anyway, being self-aware is a superpower. Like, point in case, your manager, your clients, your boss, like anyone that you interact with, the more self-aware you are, the more evident it will become over time, and the much better you're going to be able to navigate your life, especially if you learn this early on in your 20s. And self-awareness is simply understanding yourself at a deeper level. And it's a continually deeper level. I expect that I will know myself infinitely better 10 years from now than I do today. But I've spent a lot of time figuring it out, and I can tell you that it does work. And so some of the things that you'll want to understand are, what are my tendencies? What are things that I repeat often? What are my thought patterns? What are my default answers? What are my default modes of thinking? Some of us think in certain ways, and no way is good or bad, but you have to understand that to be able to better get yourself in positions that you want to be in. If you're naturally someone who's good at speaking, like, put yourself in speaking situations. If you're someone who sucks at speaking, maybe don't put yourself in situations that you have to be public speaking all the time. It's not about avoidance, but like as Gary Vee says, like, you want to double down on what you're good at. You don't want to spend time on the things that you're only bad at. If I'm a fantastic writer, I want to put myself in as many situations where I have to write as possible and minimize any other situations. And so you can apply that to emotions, thinking, behavior, skills, everything. But all of it comes down to understanding yourself better. And some of the ways that I would recommend understanding yourself better that have worked for me are things like writing. It forces you to put thoughts and emotions into words and coherent sentences. And that practice alone gives you so much clarity into yourself and your thought patterns. So I highly recommend you do some form of writing on a regular cadence. The other is reflecting often. So reflecting on where you are, where you have been, and what you want. It will help you uncover situations you want to be in, outcomes you want, things you want to see, things you want to do. So just constant reflection will always help you get closer to understanding yourself better. Another one is asking yourself why a lot. When something happens or you feel a certain way, just simply ask yourself why. Why did that happen? Why did I respond this way? Why do I feel this way? Why do I think that could have went better? Answering those questions frequently will give you a better understanding of yourself, how you behave, and how you can avoid negative situations in the future, but also create more positive outcomes in the future. When you see something that worked, ask yourself, okay, why did that work? Or if something went bad, okay, why did that go bad? And then just take that 5 seconds to do that. You will be shocked how many people don't do that. That's another powerful tool you can use to kind of get a better understanding of yourself. The last shift that you need is mental toughness. And that's like a buzzword in mental health. And there's a lot of different ways that people define it. Some of it gets a bad rep. I'm going to simplify it a bit and just use the definition that I've been using, which is the inner dialogue you have with yourself. And to quote Conor McGregor on this, if your internal is good, nothing external can rock it. Okay. If you are good with yourself, none of this outside shit matters at all. And it's extremely liberating because you understand that you can just work day in and day out on the mental dialogue that you have, and eventually it gets to a place where it's just on autopilot. You find yourself catching the negative thoughts and just cutting them off instantly on the spot, done. Not even, the cycle doesn't repeat, the negativity doesn't repeat, the anxiety doesn't get anywhere bad, the depression doesn't get anywhere bad. You don't even get touched by that stuff after a certain point. You understand the cues that you have to pick up in your brain and how you can get about getting those out and moving yourself closer to where you want to be. And this is simply a practice. It's a muscle that you have to flex and you have to keep doing it, and it's going to suck and it's going to be hard, but it is so necessary. When you're in your 20s, so much shit gets thrown at you that you're going to feel overwhelmed. But again, you're supposed to. It's a lot of new stuff. It means that you're in new environments, which brings a lot of opportunity, but you have to be mentally tough to get through it. The quickest way to be mentally tough is simply accept that life is going to be hard. Whether it's hard now or hard later, you are going to deal with hard. And the sooner you're able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, the better it's going to be. If you train yourself to become someone who is disciplined enough to be okay with shitty situations and to be okay with being uncomfortable and to putting yourself into new situations and to growing and to dealing with the growing pains, you are going to be decades ahead of everyone else your age, and you are just going to be ahead of people in general because people are not willing to do hard things, point in case. People avoid hard at all costs. They pursue easy at all costs. And if you're simply able to go against the grain on that one aspect, it will make you mentally tough and it will just put you ahead of the competition by default. I know I just threw a lot at you, but your 20s are a lot. I'm only halfway through, and I feel like I've lived five lifetimes in the past 5 years, honestly. And there's been good, and there's been bad, and there's been a lot of in between. I promise that if you apply these principles, you are going to feel so much better on a daily basis and find the clarity you're looking for, be able to achieve more, and get through your 20s without too many scars. Let me know down in the comments below what's been one of the hardest things you have to deal with in your 20s, and what are you looking forward to get out of your 20s before you hit that 30 mark. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button for more, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace.